In a period lost in the unrecorded shadow of time, long before the Christian era, Indian merchants, warriors, philosophers, and religious preachers began their voyage to far-off lands across the ocean. They have left their indelible impact on the culture, faith, and worldview of the people of these lands. We take you on a voyage of rediscovery to witness these Indian imprints on the sands of time. These islands in the Indian Ocean were known as the East Indies till the Second World War, reflecting a profound Indian cultural influence over the centuries on the islanders. The East Indies transformed into Indonesia as a vibrant new post-colonial nation. Indonesia consists of about 17,000 islands, of which nearly half are not inhabited. This archipelago has many regional subcultures with colorful local traditions. One group of local people in Toraja, in the island of Sulawesi, build their traditional homes with roofs that are shaped like boats. They claim that their ancestors came from a far-off land by boats several thousand years ago, and that they build their houses in this shape even today in their memory. One popular theory is that those ancestors migrated from India. Kalimantan is a province of Indonesia in southern Borneo. Stone inscriptions found in Kalimantan are among the oldest excavated so far in Indonesia. They relate to King Mulavarman of the 4th century. There are also inscriptions describing an Ashwamedha Yaga or horse-related sacrifice performed by a king. These inscriptions are in Sanskrit in the South Indian Pallava script.
It is my privilege to have a conversation on the subject of our documentary film with no less a person than the most respected elder statesman and past president of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Abdur Rahman Wahid. Sir, the world over we all respect you not merely as a politician but as a philosopher and as a very erudite scholar. we would like you to throw light on the relationship between ancient India and Indonesia.
The relationship between India and Indonesia, you see, goes back to the 6th century before Christ. That's when the Hindus first came to Indonesia and established their kingdom in Central Java, the Kalinga, Hinduism. And then came, people from Kerala with their special brand of Tantriism. Until now, it's taken by the palace culture of Central Java. And then came the Buddhist, from the ancient times. The Chinese Buddhist, they go to and fro, between India and China, while making stopovers in Indonesia. So the most remembered one is Fahian. If you look into the Hindu times, the beliefs of the Indian Hindus and the Indonesian Balinese are, so similar. But if the religion between two areas relate to each other, then the Indonesian society at large still takes the culture of India. It takes the Mahabharata and Ramayana stories. Maybe the Indian version of it, should be seen as something very important in shaping Indonesian culture.
An important Indianized state of ancient Indonesia was the kingdom of Srivijaya, with its capital at Palembang in Sumatra. Several stone inscriptions from Sumatra and from elsewhere in the archipelago, in Sanskrit, Pali and Tamil, many of them in Pallava script, are now exhibits in the National Museum in Jakarta.
The main inscription from South Sumatra connected with Sriwijaya Kingdom. The architecture temples in Indonesia is not similarly exactly with the architecture from ancient India, but many elements of the architecture came from Indian architecture.
It is most interesting to examine and understand the roots of the names of several places in Indonesia. The name Jakarta, capital of Indonesia, is derived from the Sanskrit Jayakarta, meaning the city of victory. Yogyakarta, or Yogya for short, stands for Yogyakarta, the city of honest people. Surakarta, the name of another city in central Java, means the city of melody in Sanskrit. Surakarta perhaps still remains the most important center of performing arts in Indonesia. On a hillock in the outskirts of Surakarta is the temple of Suko, a Hindu temple intriguingly built in the ancient South American Inca style of architecture. There are several sculptures of the Hindu pantheon here, like this one of Garuda. This site has been a place of worship from prehistoric times. as seen from a native fertility icon on the ground. Among other sculptures here, there is one of a primordial womb. Some people think it represents Brahmanda, or the egg from which the universe was born. There are representations of male and female principles inside the womb. The Hindu sculptures here are traceable to different centuries, indicating a long period of sustained faith and worship. The traditional puppet theatre in Indonesia, portraying generally stories from the Mahabharata and Ramayana, is called Wayang. Several sculptures and bas reliefs here in Suko are modeled after the Wayang puppets. As a casual visitor, if you do not have the time to travel elsewhere in Indonesia, just a day's visit to the National Museum in Jakarta will itself be most revealing. A beautiful 4-foot granite Ganesha adorns the entrance hall. His crown identifies him as a regal Ganesha, apparently from a monarch's private temple. The sculpture galleries here have an incredibly large collection of Hindu and Buddhist icons from different periods of Indonesian history. Samudra Manthan from Hindu mythology was a favorite theme for sculptors in many countries of Southeast Asia. This cylindrical sculpture of the 12th century is from central Java. We also find several Ardhanarishwara idols, like this one of the 14th century from Kalimantan. From the 11th century onwards, apparently Durga or Mahishasuramardini was the most favorite goddess for the sculptors of Java. For you find a Mahishasuramardini sculpture wherever you go. The patron sage of Java was Agastya, and we find him in most monuments of the area. Agastya being the patron saint of Tamil language, this is an indication of South Indian influence in Java. There are some unique icons, such as this remarkable figure of Brahmi, one of the Saptamatrikas, chiseled as per Hindu iconography, now in the National Museum in Jakarta. It was apparently a practice of the royalty in Indonesia to be models for the sculptors to create icons of the Hindu pantheon. Kirti Rajasa, the mighty monarch of the Hindu Majapahit kingdom of eastern Java, in the 13th century, modeled for this life-size icon of Harihara, a combination of Shiva and Vishnu. A century later, the Majapahit queen, Tribhuvanottunga Devi, modeled for an icon of Parvati. Tantric cults had also gained a foothold in Indonesia by the 14th century. If we get into the high security area of the National Museum, the most striking, internationally renowned bronze is a tall Shiva with 4 arms from Tengah in central Java. This 9th century Javanese icon has Shiva's third eye as well as his lips gilded with gold. If there was selective gilding in the 9th century, this 10th century icon of Vishnu, also from the same Tengah region, is fully covered in a gold sheet. Move to the Majapahit kingdom on East Java. This 6-inch high 10th century Shiva Lingam is made of solid gold. Remember, Indonesia is the largest Muslim country of the world today. Reflecting this reality is the Istiqlal Mosque, the largest mosque in this part of the world. Planned soon after independence from the Dutch colonial rule half a century ago, and inaugurated a decade later, Istiqlal Mosque can hold more than 60,000 people at any given time inside its prayer hall. Did you know that Islam was also introduced to the archipelago by Muslim traders from India, mostly from Gujarat, 500 years ago?
And then after that, we see the Muslims, come to Indonesia from India.
The important fact to remember is that the Indonesians are proud of their profound heritage, inheriting Indian culture, both Hindu and Buddhist, over the centuries. Indonesians are truly model citizens of the world in preserving all shades of their legacy with legitimate pride. The Garuda, mythical mount of Mahavishnu, in a stylized form, is the national emblem of modern Indonesia. The national motto, inscribed in the insignia, is Bhinnaka Tunggal Ika, taken from the ancient Hindu Majapahit kingdom of Java. Bhinnaka Tunggal Ika means unity and diversity.